Hey guys, this is Martin Perdomo, the Elite Strategist, and your host of Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast, where individuals come to learn how to create wealth through real estate investing. And today I have a good friend, Lindsey Duguet from Duguet Estates. That was their first company. Her and her husband are good friends of mine, and we kind of travel in the same circles in the same market. So for starters, she's a medical doctor. She started her educational journey in reading real estate investment books, listening to podcasts just like this one. So make sure you share this podcast. If you're listening or watching, make sure you share it. She joined a real estate elevated and founded Duguet Estates in March of 19, bought her first off-market single-family home in May of 19. So guys, she started in March. In May of 2019, bought her first duplex obtained in, and then she bought her first duplex in June of 2019, started direct mail campaigns, bought a fourplex, 3 single-family homes throughout the rest of 2019, a 10plex through some off-market advertising in December of 20. All acquisitions completely remodeled, most full guts. I've seen some of those too, Lindsey. I see.
They're not small rehabs,
I see them
for sure.
I see them on your Facebook. And stabilized huge equity gains through forced appreciation. She joined the MIH Mastermind in 2022. I also listened to that, to those guys, great group of guys over there. Clover Key Capital founded in May of 22. First JV syndication deal closed in June of 2022. GP 110 units in South Carolina portfolio. GP 212 unit in Kansas City, Missouri. Wow, that's the Latino in me. JV 20 unit combo hotel bar in Chicago, Illinois, and multiple other active deals underway, and forming key partnerships with other high-level individuals. Lindsey, welcome to the show. And I know that I usually don't do as good as a job introducing my guests. So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, if you read my resume, great. When you say it, it's like kind of amazing how much we did do in 3 years and what our goals are for the future. But yeah, actually for the audience, I met Martin before we had our first deals. So way back in March of 2019, we met him at a different meetup. Obviously Martin does his own meetups around here in Pennsylvania, but he met us when we were babies and we didn't know what we didn't know. And we bought some pretty crappy properties at the beginning.
Well, tell us about that. I want to point to that, to what you just said, where you and I met, right? With me, you and Michael met, which Michael's her husband, by the way, guys, and the Frenchman. Really
he's out at one of the units turning it over for the next people moving in 2 weeks. So he's busy.
He's out there working right now.
He is.
So I want to talk about that because I always talk about in this episode, and not in this episode, in this podcast, I always talk about the importance of showing up and going to meetups, right? I had a guest last week here, which is a mutual friend of ours. And I don't know if you remember, Lindsey, how you met Neil. And so I was talking to Neil and I said, hey, Neil, you remember how you met Lindsey and Mike and Michael? He was like, no, I met him through this. I said, no, you didn't. I said, I invited them to your meetup. And they showed up to your meetup because I invited. That's how you guys met him. He didn't remember that. I know you remember that.
Was way back at the begining.
And they're so you guys are good friends now. You guys are same mastermind and stuff like that. So he wouldn't remember that. But anyways, I always talk about in this podcast the importance for people when they're getting started to show up to these meetups, right? To find these communities and show up to these communities. Right. Let's start there, like, because that's the beginning for you, right? Like tell me about that journey. Like,
putting yourself out there and actually talking to other people that are doing it. That's where you're going to form the key partnerships. You're going to learn the information. You're going to find off-market deals. I mean, the first meetup that we went to, that's how we got our first 2 single-family homes. It was through another investor in the room who were basically sick of those 2 properties. So, I mean, you're never going to see those on the MLS, right? We got them off-market for $2,500 each, and a really small D class, which is not where you really want to be investing town. But we walked in on them sight unseen, and we were kind of thrown to the wolves right away. You know, you see these fancy fix and flip shows on TV, like, oh, it's going to be so easy. You know, we're just going to go in, hire a contracting team, and then in a month, it's going to be beautiful. We're going to be making bank and do it again. That's not how it is, guys. So I mean, it can be a lonely journey too. At least Michael and I had each other to rely on and, you know, boost each other up when we're dealing with some of the bad stuff that we continue to run into problems all the time. That's part of the investing game, right? But if you're around other people who have done it before and they're like, look, I know it's a bad day today, but you're going to get through it. This is what I learned. This is the resources. Hey, call my plumber. Here's his number. These are the people that are going to help you in your journey. So it's not a one-man show, real estate investing. And it's been a mindset shift for us too, because Michael and I at the beginning thought we had to have everything ourselves. We didn't want to share the pie with anybody else, but that was selfish. It was a really bad, selfish mindset. And we could be a lot farther in our real estate career right now. How do we more fully help, use other people's knowledge to leverage ourselves up? So, I mean, that's a huge key point in the beginning of your investing, the middle, throughout the entire journey. You need to be with other people that are going to help you and be there for knowledge and support.
I want to make sure, because I know people are listening right now or watching this and they're saying, did she say $2,500 for her first single?
That should have been the first red flag. Too good to be true is a real thing,
That absolutely is. So I want to unpack that a little bit before we get to unpacking that. How many doors do you have total right now? I know I read it, but I didn't add it all up.
The more we get and things are snowballing here. So we're at the 212 unit. We didn't officially close, so I'm not going to count that. So we're just over 200 units right now.
So you're at let's say 200 doors right now. Yeah. So guys, this is Lindsey and Mike are at 200 doors right now. And so 200 doors in 3 years. That is freaking amazing, girl. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so happy for you guys, because I do remember that first time we met.
Yeah, I mean, we looked up to you. I still look up to you, but yeah.
Thank you, hon. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I remember that first time we met in where were we, in Scranton somewhere, and what's his name?
Pittston, yeah. It was
Steve. We were in Steve's
meetup. Yeah.
So yes, the power of going to these meetups, you run into other people doing things at a higher level, doing things that maybe a little bit further down their journey, and everyone helps each other, right? Maybe you're a little bit further down their journey than someone else, and you can say, hey, let me show you, come, you can do this, right? Or maybe someone's a little bit further down the journey than you, and they'll tell you, hey, let me show you, here, do this, right? So you bought that first property for $2,500.
Yep.
What the hell was that? You guys, tell me what you guys were thinking.
We thought we had a great deal.
That was the best thing in the world, right?
We scored this guy. He doesn't know what he's selling it for. He knew he got a good deal when we first walked in. I mean, again, there were two of them in the same town. We bought them sight unseen, so together $5,000 for the two of them. So we had our keys in our hand. We're like, oh my God, we're investors now. Let's go see what we bought. We opened the door. There were squatters living in there. I mean, the pipes were cut. Cockroaches, literally, the plumbing wasn't working. There was no water, so there were urine bottles all over the place. I mean, it was a hoarder times 10 is what basically we walked into. And we had, I know you know this story, Martin. We found a local contractor who said, oh yeah, we can fix this up. We'll have this done in a month. All you need to do is send me, give me the check, and we'll go to Home Depot. It'll be good. So we gave him a cash check, all up front. Guess who we didn't see again? That contractor. So, but we found another local guy who actually did fix them up for us. We actually still own those first 2 units, and they cash flow great. I wouldn't, we're not buying in that town anymore, but hey, we have them. They're stabilized. They're cash flowing. We did a refinance on them. So the bank gave us all our investment money back, and now we have, a 75% loan out on it while the tenants pay down the mortgage. So
yeah, I am so proud of you guys, because I even remember I gave you guys the bank. I know you guys are still partners. I referred you guys my banker, where I do all of my burrs here locally.
Yeah, there we go. We met at a meetup. He gave us the banker, and they are all 22 that we have locally. We've used this bank for. So yeah, you burred it with the same bank, and if you remember, I referred them to you. Yeah, you're right.
Tony over there at our bank.
He's retired now, but we have another good girl, Stacia.
Yeah. So okay. So how does one go from in 2019? Because someone's listening and they're saying, well, she's a doctor, so she's got money, right? Tell me demystify that for people.
Yeah.
How does one go from nothing to 200 doors in 3 years?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a common misconception, and people, I used to be like this too. You see somebody really successful, and there's a part jealousy there. And then there's a part thinking, well, this must be luck. Their parents gave them money. Their parents must have been investors or doctors already. That's not true. I mean, for myself, I worked my ass off for what we have, to put it quite bluntly. My parents never even went to college. Everything, my whole undergrad, I went to Penn State, I went to PCOM in Philadelphia for medical school. This was all through loans. So when I graduated residency, I had $231,000,
Sheesh.
$231,000 in student loans. I was in the hole. We had just started to repay some of these student loans off when we first got into real estate. So, I mean, $2,500, sure, that's obviously cheap for a house, but it's not a lot of money. I mean, I know plenty of my friends, they don't even have that in their bank account and savings right now. So you don't necessarily need a lot of money to start. And part of this is leveraging other people who, I mean, now, yes, we have worked our way up to this and we do have some money now that, you know, to help other people. But when you start in this real estate investing world, you need to go into this with how can I help you, not how can you help me attitude. So if you have no money to start, you go to these meetups. People that are successful, they still need help. I mean, like my husband right now, he's out there because his construction guy didn't show up today, right? He wasn't supposed to be there today. So if you have some knowledge, go and, you know, help on some of these projects so you can learn from people who can tell you how to refinance at a bank, who can, you know, tell you about some private money lending and stuff like that. So you need other people to go in to do this with. So we didn't have that. It was just Michael and I at the beginning. So when we started paying off these student loans, we were totally in the hole. And we were like, okay, now I have an attending salary. I'm a physician. But you don't always get paid well. I mean, when you think about some of the hours you work for the pay, it's not as glamorous as people really think. It's truly not. So we started paying off these student loans. We were like, how are we going to start investing some of this money? And a lot of doctors are very, very stock heavy. It's what we kind of have been taught in residency. It's what we know.
Stock, like the stock market.
Stock market, yeah. Nobody besides myself now had been into real estate investing. So for this was a whole brand new can of worms that we were opening. We got these properties very cheap for the $5,000. We did have a little bit of money saved up, which a lot of it was from Michael. He had sold one of his houses in France. So his only house, I should say, in France, because he was from there. Now he's a citizen. That was a new thing last year. But
I remember that. You guys posted that on Facebook.
Yeah.
When it became
so we basically put $10,000 into these houses, but then they appraised. Again, this is a not very well appreciating town, but they ended up appraising for like $75,000 or $80,000. So we got all this money pulled out. So this is the start of velocity of money. So we had all this money pulled out, and then you can reinvest it into another deal. So that's really how we got started.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I know there's listeners out there right now thinking, holy shit, she had $231,000 in debt, right? That's probably more than most.
It's not. So that's a mortgage, right?
Because you're
it's a mortgage, but there's no real asset behind it. It's a piece of paper.
It's just liability. It's straight up liability.
That. It's absolutely liability. Yep.
Yeah, it's a straight up. If that falls in the straight liability column, you got a skill that can make you money. However, if you don't perform a duty, you can't pay that, right? Yep. So so that's a whole different conversation. That whole student loan shit is fucked up. So tell us, what was the strategy? I want you to tell me step by step, because there's someone listening out there right now saying, holy shit, she had what? And you paid those off, right? Through real estate. I know we've had that conversation, you and I. You've paid those off. So tell me, what's the step by step? What do I need to do so I can be freed from this stuff? Because I know what having a lot of debt is, and that shit is slavery, right? You feel like that weight on your back.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say the day I paid those student loans off, because they are paid off now, it was such a weight lifted off of me. I mean,
can you advise someone, hey, someone just starting out, someone knows nothing, they're listening to this podcast, what do they do, Lindsey? How do they do it?
It's a great question. I mean, there are certain steps that you can't ignore. I think the very first step, no matter what, wherever you're at in your journey, is to figure out, why do you want to do this? There's tons of ways to make money, right? So why real estate? Why do you want to be financially free? Why do you want to be successful? That why is going to get you through the hard times. So for instance, myself, my why is because I want to have freedom of time. I want to have financial freedom, right? That's what there's some degree of that. Everybody doing real estate investing, and my family. I'm still working a lot at the hospital. I'm still a full-time physician. So it's not like I have, completely quit my job and I'm just doing real estate. I'm still working my butt off at the hospital. I'm doing this so that I can have money to invest I'm doing this so that I can have more time with my family. I have 3 little kids, 5 and under. I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old girl. She just turned 4 last week, and a 10-month-old. So that's a lot of people dependent on me. And I have, my husband too. We have a bunch of animals. So I need to support the family. I'm the breadwinner in the family right now. So my why is pretty strong. So that whenever we get into these hard times, when a tenant's not paying or for whatever reason, I go back to that saying, okay, well, I have a strong why and I get through it. We figure out things, how to get through it. The second thing is educate yourself. Even if you have a strong why and you don't know where to start, you need to start educating yourself. So Martin had mentioned when we started, we joined Bigger Pockets. It's a free community. You can ask any question on these platforms or forums that have already been answered. And there's tons of people like Martin and myself who are there to help support you and answer your questions. So join Bigger Pockets. Again, it's free. Start listening to audiobooks, start listening to these podcasts. I mean, this is a great, amazing free resource that Martin and many other people do. You're able to listen one-on-one with people who are successful in real estate. So really start to educate yourselves. Step 3, get yourself out there. Go to these meetups. Again, a lot of meetups are free or, very cheap. Like I know Martin, it's 10, 20 bucks to go to your meetups and these aren't free for us, right? I just had my first meetup last month. We have to pay for room, sometimes.
To pay for the church, for the space,
And a big thing, if you're not willing to pay 10 bucks to go to a meetup, then you're not going to pay.
You're not ready
for real estate. So you're not ready. Exactly.
If you're bitching about 10 bucks.
You don't have a strong
I had someone text me why I have to pay. I said, you're not ready. Don't come. I said, you got to pay 10 bucks to cover the church. Don't come. You're not ready. You're not going to receive the content. Go ahead. Sorry, my dear. Number 3, show up, meetup.
Show up and go to meetups. So far, all of that's free, right? Think of a why. Start educating yourselves. Go to meetups. And then 4th, and also very most importantly, you need to take action. All right. There's a term in medicine as well as in real estate or any type of investing. It's called analysis paralysis. So one of my friends who is a physician at work, he's interested in real estate investing. He's been reading every book under the sun, listening everything for 2 years. He hasn't invested or tried to do one deal yet. He's stuck in this analysis paralysis phase where he thinks he needs to know everything before he takes that first step. That's not true. You need to just start putting little actionable steps out there. Start calling start looking at the MLS, just start looking, start calling some brokers, start calling agents, start forming those relationships, start reaching out to banks saying, hey, this is my credit score. This is the type of housing I'm looking at. What are the debt terms right now? There are so many small steps that you can take that again are free that you can start using to snowball so that when you are ready or a deal does fall into your lap, you're ready to go. When you go to these meetups, there are plenty of people there who are successful, who do have some money sitting, that if you find a good deal and you know how to now present your numbers to them and you don't have money, guess what? They'll partner with you because they know it's a good deal and they know you're motivated. So, and again, all of this is free at the beginning. You don't need money. So get that mindset out right now. I mean, that's a limiting belief for a lot of people. Their limiting belief is, I can't do this. I don't have money. That's not true. It's not true at all.
No one says, there's no hard written rule that says you need your money.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. You need money, but not necessarily your money. I mean, most of my deals. So, okay. So now someone figured out their why. They understand what is it for them. For you as your kids, and they educate themselves, right? They go and they sign up for my course. I have an online course, how to find your first deal in 60 days or less. They go get educated. I teach a lot of this stuff there. And then they show up at meetups. I'm constantly saying that show up. You beat 50% of people just by showing up. Right. So and then you go and you input output. So you learn and you go take action with what you learn. You input. There's a term I learned some time ago is that you take it in, you go do it. You take it in, you go do it. You take it in, you go do it. Input, output, right? You input, output, and you start.
There's a term in medicine too. We say see one, do one, teach one. So you watch an attending do something. You do it yourself, and then you go teach somebody. So
and that's how it stays. That's how it stays in your nervous system. That makes a lot of sense.
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory. That's right. Makes a lot of sense. So now you take massive action, and now you find this first deal for $2,500. I have $50,000 in freaking student loans, and I'm like, I can get mom to give me $2,500. I can figure out how to get 30 grand here, and and do this. So how does one do that? How does one pay? How do I pay my student loans off?
Mhm.
Okay, so what next now? Tell me. Teach me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. So if you have a lot of debt, I would say, I mean, the way I did it, I put 10% of everything into my student loans. I just start chipping away. And as you start chipping away, that principal goes down. So your interest rate might be locked, but you're starting to pay it off faster. So it's a snowball effect. Credit card debt, that's another thing. Student loans, sure, it's not free money, but it's not nearly as much as the interest rates you're paying on your credit card debt. So what I would suggest is really start to pay off the high interest debt first, and just start chipping away at that. There's a good book called The Richest Man in Babylon, it's a nonfiction, well, it's a fiction book, I should say, but it's nonfiction type principles in it. So pay yourself first. So the bank's always going to want your money. There's always things that you're going to pay. If you have a paycheck, you're going to find a way to spend all of that, guaranteed. If you pay yourself first, and that book teaches you the mindset of give yourself 10% to save for any type of investing, that's also going to snowball. You start paying down your debt, you start investing, and soon you're going to get to this point where it's even, and then you reach what we call the zero debt line. So when I started, again, I was $231,000 in debt, and it's slowly over the last 3 years reached to the point where now my real estate investing is starting to pay off. We're doing the refis, and now it's just taking off.
Outstanding. So you buy a property, you fix it, you rent it.
Yeah.
Right. And then, how do you do that? Right. So I get it. So if someone's making 50 grand a year and they're listening to us, they may not have much money left over. They find a deal. They do what you said. They go to these meetups. They start to network with some people. They find opportunities where they can make a little money. Right. Maybe they wholesale a deal. Maybe they get in a deal. Maybe they partner up with someone in a deal. And now they have this money and they start to pay off their debt. But if let's say they find that deal like yours, you found a really amazing deal and they rented it. Tell us how you do that, right? Like, what's the fastest way? You refinance it? Is that correct? So you fix it?
It's called the BRRRR method. So you buy, you rehab, you rent, you refinance, you repeat. So it's a book by David Green. Again, $15, go spend the money. You're going to get an invaluable amount of knowledge.
Repeat that for the listeners.
BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And the book's by David Green, but tons of investors do this model even before the book came out. So basically what we did with these properties, what we have done with multiple 4-unit, 10-unit, and even these big 110-unit syndication deals and this 212-unit one under, the same method, just on a much larger scale. So take the first ones that we did, the $2,500 ones. We bought them for $5,000. We put $10,000 each into them. Then we rented them out. So now we have some money coming in. We went to the bank and we said, hey, this is what we spent. This is the rent we have coming in, and let's get it appraised. And then we get 75% out, right? So let's do an easy number. Say you bought a house for $20,000, $100,000. You put $25,000 into it. So you're $125,000 in, then it ends up appraising for, I don't know, $200,000. So most banks, and terms change a little bit, but between 70 to 80%, the bank will usually end up financing. So you can get out between 20 to 30% of the equity that you have in your home. So what we did, we basically made equity in these properties. We forced the appreciation. We got crappy properties, you put money in, and then it appraises for much more. So now, on that $200,000, you can take out, say it's a 75% loan to value. You'll get $150,000 loan on this property, and then you get $50,000 cash back. So if you run your numbers right and you learn these numbers and how to do that from these books, talking to other investors, you ideally get all of your money back out. So now you have, and with refis, the money you get is tax free. So I'm in a high income tax bracket. So these refis we're getting, they're not taxed. So now we have this money, and you go do it and do another deal again. And you just keep doing that, and you recycle the money. And again, it's not a get rich quick scheme. This is not an overnight success. You're not going to buy a house the next day you go and it's, rehabbed and everything, and you're going to pull this money out. There's a lot of bumps in the road to get there, but it's, I don't want to say guaranteed, but it's a pretty sure way to start making money for yourself when you're doing it right.
Well, the old saying says, it's not a get rich quick. It's not a
No.
get rich quick. It's a get rich for sure.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, patience and persistence pays off here for sure.
You stay in the long game. You're gonna
Yeah.
get rich for sure.
Yeah.
So, I want to shift over really quick, and I want to start. I want to ask you about mindset. Where does mindset play a role in this? Tell us, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of steps, in the last 15 years that got us to this point, and a lot of mindset shifts. Like I had mentioned, my parents didn't even go to college. So for me, it was like, okay, just going to college back then, that was a whole mindset. Like, why not me? Why can't I be the first one in my family to go to college? So initially I was thinking, not anything wrong with nurses, but I was like, oh, okay, I'll be a nurse. And then my dad was like, one day, I still remember, he's like, why don't you you're smart, you're determined, just go be a doctor. And I was like, what? Be a doctor? Nobody's even gone to college, like in our family. Why? And then I was like, well, shit, why not me? So that was mindset number one. And then I went and I did it. When we started getting into real estate investing, again, nobody in my family had done this. The doctors that I worked around, they were all, like you said, stock heavy. Why not real estate? We read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the little purple book that a lot of people did. And that was a mindset shift for me. And I was like, well, why not me? Why can't I do this? This sounds like a really good idea. Why aren't more people doing this? But it was hard because my parents, they kind of thought I was a little bit crazy. Sometimes they still think, like when I said, oh, we just closed on 110 units, they're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, so, I mean, it definitely is a hard mindset shift to come over. But when I first started, after I had done that 3-day real estate elevated course, before we even had our first deal, one of the things they said is go take action. So I started calling brokers and I said, oh, I have some partners that they have some money, so send me your deals. And he started asking me questions, and very quickly he knew that I was a green newbie. And I remember him saying to this day, and Michael and I still joke about this, he literally said on the phone, he goes, I don't have time for you. And that pissed me off so bad. And that put fuel under me to say, you know what, I'm going to prove this guy wrong someday. And I'm kind of there already, I guarantee, if I called him back. But a lot to me is I shouldn't say a lot, but some of my motivation is to prove people wrong. People think I couldn't do this. People think it's impossible. I like to prove people wrong. It's not impossible. And I'm a walking proof of that, where, I went from a family who didn't have much, didn't go to college, to now I'm doing these syndication deals. I'm a physician. So had I stuck with that mindset of, I love my mom, but she was like, oh, I think being a doctor is going to be, too hard, too much time. You shouldn't do that. If I listened to her and I had that mindset, I'm sure I'd still, be happy, well off, but it could have, that could have really broke the camel's back there. So yeah, it's really tough. So I just really want to say to any listener, for anybody who has doubt in their mind, it is not impossible. If you have a strong why, there are many, many, many rags to riches story. This isn't fake news. These are real people who have come up from nothing, and you can do it. But it's mindset. And if you think, there's the quote by Henry Ford, and I love this quote: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can't do this, if you think it's too hard, you're not going to do it. If you think you can do it and you think, okay, I'm going to meet challenges, but how do I overcome them? You're much more likely to be successful. So
on top of the time that you've invested, and I know the cost of the mastermind you're in. I'm in a mastermind too, and I spend a lot of money on self-education.
Yeah.
Tell us how valuable is it to invest in yourself and to invest in your education to get to the level you're in?
It's invaluable. You need to invest in yourself or you're not going to be successful. I'll just say that as a blanket statement. You need to invest in yourself. To be a doctor, that's not free, right? I just said $231,000. I paid for this education, but now, I mean, just last night I was working till 2:30 in the morning. Right now it's 2:30. So 12 hours ago, I was still at work. Cardiac arrest comes in right before I'm done. I'm literally saving this guy's life, getting his heart back. I mean, the guy was dead. This is not, you need to pay for that education or know what you're doing. I mean, that didn't come for free. I took a lot of time, a lot of knowledge, a lot of money and education to get to the point where I can do these high level things at work as an ER and trauma physician. It's the same in real estate. You get to a point where you can read all the books and you can go to these networking events, you can still be successful. But at some point you realize where it's definitely worth it to pay a little bit of money to learn one-on-one. I mean, you go to meetups, you talk to one person for 10 minutes here, but to start paying for some one-on-one mentorship, it's worth it. You'll get there faster. You're paying for some education, but you're also paying for time and velocity of that resource and leverage.
Absolutely. There's so much value in that. And a lot of people, a poor person's mindset, and I know I've talked to many of them, I'm not going to spend 10, 15, 20,000. I mean, Lindsey, I spent probably in the last 2 years, close to maybe $200,000 in education and investing in myself.
I mean, there's tons of conferences all over. Every time we go to one of these big ones, we meet new people. The partners, the JV unit, the first syndication deal that we did, we met through a meetup down in Florida. So that wasn't free, but guess what? The returns are already.
The returns on the investment is what? Like it's 1,000-fold, right? Like, hey, my mentor just bought a bank. Like, hey, who, like seriously, like, and like, how do you get in a circle like that? Like, how you got to pay for it, right? Like, how do you?
Well, that's why not everybody's successful, right? Because most of the population has that limiting belief, and the mindset blocks them for their whole life. They never get over that. That's why not everybody is successful.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our mentor is our capital partner, one of our capital partners, and he just bought a bank. Like, what the fuck? Who does that? Right? It's like that just to me is still mind, but he closed on it 2 weeks ago. To me, it's mind blowing. I'm like, yo, dude, like a bank? He's like,
in a couple of years, you might be doing it too. You know?
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm leveled up. Because I'm like now I'm like it's normal, right? Now it's just normal, right? Yeah. I remember we were at a conference, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna close on this thing," and I'm like, "Hey, Don, dude," he announced it that the Department of Banking had just approved his CFO announced it from the stage. Hey, we just got approved. We just got the approval from whatever the banking regulations. They were auditing and doing all this stuff. We just got approval, right? And that night over dinner, I was like, dude, congratulations, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. A freaking bank. You know what he said to me? He said, "Oh, it's a small bank. It's only $250 million. I'm like, yo, bro, like, are you serious?
Humble, man.
He's like, it's only $250 million. I'm like, bro, are you serious?
Yeah.
You know,
so in 5 years, we'll do another one together, and we'll talk about how we joked how that was like huge.
Like that was, he was like, hey, you're still gonna be borrowing from us. I was like, dude, I'm gonna be borrowing even more now. My mentor has a freaking bank. Like, are you serious? Like, you got a built-in exit strategy for me now. Are you freaking
That's hilarious, yeah.
Right? So, but anyways, you put yourself in these rooms and you have these conversations, and it just levels you up. It just makes it normal. It's just a norm, right? It just you start hanging around with Lindsey. It's like they say, you're not gonna make $1 more than the 5 people you spend most time with, right?
You're the average of the 5 people. It's so true. If you're hanging around with people who are they get home from work, they crack the beers, they're watching TV, and they once in a while is great, but if you're doing this every night and those are the people you're around with, you're going to be the crazy one they think to try to reach out. If you start going to these rooms, and like you said, it's the norm that people are getting together, having these high level conversations, that's what you're going to start thinking is normal. And then you're going to look, I mean, I'll be very fair to admit, when Michael and I first met, he was the fancy French guy. I was in med school. We would have some wine. We'd watch like multiple TV series. This was, 9 years ago. We would never do that now, because now we're sitting around, we're having these high level conversations, we're underwriting for fun, we're going, our date nights are with, people like you, your wife, going out to eat, still having fun, but it's a whole different level now. So
the whole different conversations are different. The conversations are totally different. One thing I found in my studies was that successful people, there's a pattern with successful people. And I want to get into your world, you and Michael's world of your rituals. Like what, you own your morning. One book I'm a big fan of is Hal Elrod, which I met, by the way.
Yeah, I'll share morning. Oh, that's awesome.
I'll share this real creepy story with you.
I have that book. I can see it right here. I love The Miracle Morning. It's one of my top
great book. So one day I'm at an event. Actually, my mentor is hosting this event. He has Hal Elrod. So Hal Elrod was the guy that wrote for his book. You know how you get someone to write whatever. I forget what you call it on your book. You get them to write a thing about you or whatever. Yeah. Anyways, him and Hal Elrod are good friends. So he had Hal Elrod at his event. And Hal Elrod did his thing. And we were having dinner and we were drinking. And I had a couple of drinks. So I go to the bathroom and I run into Hal Elrod. Now this book, right? this book, I use part of the Miracle Morning as part of my ritual.
Yeah, me too.
So I see how I'll write in the morning, and I'm like, yo, dude, man, yo, thank you so much for your book, right? I'm acting like a freaking groupie here, right? I'm freaking, and that's not me. But I had a couple of drinks. I was like, hey, man, I just got to thank you because that book has changed my life.
I agree.
I use some of your strategies, not all of it, the savers, not all of it. I have my own version of it. But I just want to thank you because it's pretty awesome. And then I realized I was like, oh shit, man. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I'm the creepy dude you see in the movies. I literally told them that. I was like, I'm the creepy dude you see in the movies. When you're in the bathroom taking
like hiding in the stall waiting for him to come out.
And we just both laughed about it. I was like, my bad, man. I'm sorry. He was like, it's all good. He was real cool about it. But anyway, so tell me about your rituals in the morning. Tell me about your rituals.
So my routine, it changes by the day a little bit because I am an ER physician. So I don't work a normal Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Like I just said, I was working at 2:30 in the morning last night. Some days I'm day shift, some it's afternoon, some it's evening, some it's nights. However, no matter the day, I still have the same core things that I pack into the day, whether it's in the morning or evening or when I get home, at midnight some nights. So I always try to read a Bible verse. I just real quick, I have an app on my phone. A lot of this has to do with apps on my phone, which makes it really simple and easy for me. Right now, my husband is French. I'm trying to learn French. So I'm doing 20 minutes a day on Duolingo. So I'm always doing that. I'm big into fitness and exercise. I think you have to have a healthy mind and body to be good to your family, my patients at work, and to even have a sharp mind for real estate investing. So I like my Peloton. I really very much consistently try to do 20-minute, pretty intense workout a day or at least every other day. I'm really consistent with that. And then I always try to do some type of medical learning every day. Again, I have apps where you can just read part of a journal article or something every day. And it's not like this is 100% 365 days, success record, but I try to do and be as consistent as possible most days of the year. I always obviously hang out with my kids. Like earlier this week, they're in school. The two oldest ones are in school now. So I didn't see them for 3 days in a row. And that really threw me off this week because they were in school during the day. And then I went to work in the evening. So I was like Zooming them a couple times. I'm like, hey, so, I like to have quality time with my family because that's one of my big whys, right? Family. Why am I spending all this time and energy doing this if I'm not having a good relationship with my husband and my kids? So those are some of the big core things that I do. I have audio book on my phone. So I constantly have some type of either self-help motivation book, like the Miracle Morning, Compound Effect. I mean, there's tons of books, real estate investing. So when I'm driving to work every single day, I'm listening to something. So right there's 40 minutes a day where I'm getting some type of education. So people say, how do you do all this? I'm an artist. I do artwork too. That's one of my hobbies. And every single day I have somebody saying to me, how do you have time to do this? Like, this is insane. You have kids, you're doing real estate investing, you're a doctor, you stay in shape. How are you doing all this? You make time for what's important for yourself. So the people that say they don't have time, they're the ones that are probably sitting at home watching, series on Netflix, and they're not trying to better themselves, but they have that woe is me attitude. Other people are lucky. Why not me? Yeah. You make time for what's important. And these are the important things for me.
You said there's a lot there to unpack. Or you said the key thing is you do a little bit every day. And you also mentioned the book that basically taught me that, which was the Compound Effect.
Yes,
the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, right? You said, hey, I'll read 10 minutes on the journal, right?
Yep.
Right now, I'm focusing. One of the things I'm doing is we're focusing on learning and really sharpening our tools, our tools on creative financing. We believe there's going to be a ton of deals and there's going to be a ton of opportunities. And I'm just getting better and getting ready and studying 10 minutes a day. You said you read 10 minutes a day, you do this or 10 minutes, you do 20 minutes of Peloton a day. It's that compound effect. And if you
try to do everything at once, you're going to burn yourself out too. It's like the people that for New Year's resolution, I'm going to go to the gym. They go to the gym on January 1st or 2nd. They work out for 3 hours. They can't move for a week and they give up. It's not throwing everything in all at once. I mean, just like this, it's not a get rich overnight, but it's little action steps that you do consistently that are going to add up. You're not going to see the result. You work out once a week for 2 weeks, you're probably not going to see that much result right away, but you keep doing that for 6 months, you're going to look in the mirror and be like, holy shit, I look pretty good now. It's those little steps over time that add up. It's the same working out. It's the same with education. time passes no matter what. So you can use that time every day to better yourself, or you can just let it slip away on you. And then in 20 years think, man, what did I do?
Yeah.
Why am I not successful?
That's right. That's right. One of the things I learned in the last recession, I was in real estate. I was in the mortgage business. I was just getting started. And, knowing what I know now, I look back and I said, damn, I could have made a lot of money. And I was that guy. I was the Netflix. I was the being home. But I made a lot of money during the mortgage time. And I said, I'm going to do things differently this time. I'm going to sacrifice whatever I have to sacrifice so that I could be better tomorrow. And it's always about sacrificing, giving up something today for a better tomorrow.
Sacrificing your comfort is going to be part of this. I mean, it's hard. Like you just came to my first meetup. You think I was comfortable when I first went out in front of that room and started talking? Hell no. I never used to like public speakings, but you get out of your comfort zone. I sacrificed comfort and we ended up having a great time,
Yeah, that was a great event. Lindsey, let's wrap this up with someone's listening to you right now and they're really inspired by you and what you've done. And I want to publicly tell you how proud I am. Really, I'm really, really proud of you guys.
Thank you. I mean, you knew us from literally the beginning.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys, you really are an example of, you can do it if you really get to it. We both are, because
absolutely. I know your story and everybody. Yeah.
So, but I'm really proud of you guys. You guys, I remember showing you. Remember that? You remember that? Where was that? In Nantucket? What was that town? That 10 unit that I was going to buy. It was cheap. Now I think back, and I should have bought that. I was going to wholesale it to you guys. Remember that? The
6 unit. That's so funny you mentioned that, because I've said to Michael at one point too. I agree. We said the same thing, man. We were so conservative with our numbers back then. And we were just starting. So we did not have very much money. And we're like, oh, we're off by a few $1,000s. I have said to Michael so many times, I was like, damn, what the hell was wrong with us? We should have taken that deal with Martin.
I think back. I don't remember why I didn't take it. And what's interesting is I had just come back from,
you were looking at bigger apartment stuff.
I was looking at bigger things. That's what it was. And I
remember,
didn't want to. I was looking at bigger stuff. I had just come back from spending 3 days with Rod Cleef, which I had him here on my podcast a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
I had just come back from LA, and I had spent three days in his event. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. It's too small. And I don't know. There's something about that town
it was essentially a no money down deal.
Dude, it was a no brainer. Like, what the hell? Like, it was 6 units for 135 or something stupid like that.
The one that got away. It was 126. I remember.
Do you remember the number?
Because I thought about it a couple of times. Like, man. So.
But anyways, that one got away. That one definitely got away from us. But anyways, if someone's listening, and I know we kind of went on our own little thing here. If someone's listening to you, Lindsey, what advice would you tell them, right? If like, hey, what's the one thing that you can tell someone listening that wants to pay off their student loans and wants to have financial freedom through real estate investing? This podcast gets listened around the world. I mean, we've got downloads everywhere in the world. Someone's listening to you and they're like, man, I'm really inspired by her. She's pretty awesome. You are awesome. You and your husband both are pretty awesome. Awesome. What's the one piece of advice that you would tell them to take? What is that thing?
It is possible, and don't give up. It's possible. I mean, you just need to get over the mindset of why I can't do it. Why not me? You can do it. It is possible. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. And that's why I'm also saying don't give up. I mean, you alluded to, you've seen some of the pictures of the stuff we bought.
Oh yeah, man. You guys had some rough shit.
We could have given up dozens of times we could have given up, but we had a strong why. So we figured out how to get through all those bad times. And no matter where you're at in your investing career, like even these big syndication deals, there's things that come up. Not every day is great, but you just have to have the mindset of keep going, figure it out. You can get through it and you'll be successful. I mean, if you realize you can do it, it's not impossible, and don't give up. The world, the sky's your limit.
Outstanding. Lindsey, thank you so much for being here. If anyone's listening and they wanted to connect with you, maybe they wanted to maybe invest in one of your deals, maybe they want to just just thank you or something like that? Is there a way for them to connect with
there's
you on social?
multiple ways to reach out to me. So you can find me on Facebook, Lindsey, Lindsey, Duguet, Duguet. I'm the only Lindsey Duguet, so message me. You can go to our website, cloverkeycapital.com. We have an investor portal if you're interested in investing with us. We have multiple deals underway right now, some really good LP type of positions. You can see some of our past portfolio, what we have, our gut job pictures, some of these really bad ones, and what we turned around and how we didn't give up on these. And you can email me, Lindsey, Lindsey, at DUGUET'S.com. So any of those ways you can contact me, and I'm glad to help. I'm glad to, teach. I was there at the beginning too, when there's no deals and you're tough. If you have any questions, advice, I'm there for you. I think there's a quote in the Bible, to whom much has been given, much is expected. I've been given a lot of motivation. I can say we've been pretty successful now, so I like to give back as well.
Outstanding. Thank you, Lindsey, for being here. And she's got the French bug. You heard how she said her name, right? Did you say it again? Duguet.
Duguet. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Michael would say that's the correct way.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you. And I'm going to have you back here next year so we can talk about when we're really deep in this thing, in this recession, and things are really kicking up here. I want to know what you guys are doing and how you guys are moving. And we didn't even get into that. We ran out of time. But I'll have you come back and we can talk about that. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to continue to watch videos like this one, make sure you click this video right up here. I think you might like it. Also, if you want to learn how to create wealth through real estate investing, make sure you check out my online course. The links to that course is down below, where I share with you how to get your first deal within 60 days. Thank you for watching. And again, peace out.